I had this dripping problem. That's the reason I'm making this video, is about the dripping problem. How you doing, guys? I got more trouble again after repairing the buzzing noise from my FX6. As you can see, it's all reassembled yesterday. Anytime you make maintenance to your canister filter, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on it, close eye on it, for at least a couple days. Check all the surroundings of your valves and your seals, like the lid seals, impeller housing, any drain, wherever there's o-ring that may help seal off water. And just this morning, when I came to check it, this is what I find. First, I saw that on the bottom of the valve it's wet. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I saw that little bit of wet spot down there. Matter of fact, yeah, you see it's dripping down. Definitely dripping down. And any excess water will actually collect on these openings. Like this one, you could clearly see water is puddling up down there. I mean, it's a slow drip. I can zoom in. As far as I could tell, without removing anything, it's dripping down from up here through the bottom of the valve handle. Right now it's in the open position. So we could rule out any leaks coming from the bottom, since I could clearly see that it's dripping down from the top. Matter of fact, one drop just came down. Yep. As clearly see as the driplet collects right between the handle and the valve housing, it drips down. Years ago, when I bought an FX4 or FX6 brand new, can't remember which one, I've owned both of them. Brand new, it was leaking. So I remember returning the leak one for a brand new one. And when I came home and put everything together, the new one was leaking. So I was kind of frustrated, and being that I have an engineering background, I decided to go ahead and remove the valve. And from the back of the valve, I somehow pressed into the valve housing, pressed to this way, and that makes the red part, as you can see, come the right side. That's how you can expose the inside. I believe there's either one big piece of o-ring or two separate ones attached. It's been so many years I can't remember. So what I'll have to do this time again is to somehow try and press this out to inspect the o-ring over and clean off any bits of sand particles that may be in the way of the o-rings creating a proper seal to stop the water from coming out. Because you know, even a brand new one, it was doing that for me. Not this particular one, or it may be this particular one. For all I know, I can't remember which one. It's been at least 4 or 5 years this thing has been running. Actually, before I put an FX6 in, a pair of FX6 in here, I originally had a pair of FX4s running. Before I decided to use the FX4, I had initially tried out a couple of FX6s, and believe it or not, at the time, the noise of the FX6 were all very loud. I've tried 2 or 3 different ones from PetSmart, and they were all very loud. I don't know if it's an internal defect from those particular models from that particular year, or just that particular batch of shipments that PetSmart got. They were loud. So that's why I settled on using a pair of FX4s for, I want to say, at least a couple years. And they ran fine. FX4s were the motor were much quieter in decibel value. I actually use a decibel app and I actually measure the decibel value. It was I think it was like lower than 40 or 50 decibel, one of those. And I was happy with it, except for the fact that the flow rate on the FX4 is definitely lower compared to these FX6s. And being that I keep African cichlids, and I wouldn't say that they're dirty fish, but oftentimes you have to feed them quite a bit because they're active fish and they produce a lot of waste. As I mentioned before, I don't change my water for months and months. And because I don't keep that many, as you can see for this 125 gallon, I got less than 12, 15 fish at one time, maximum. Saying all that just to say that I prefer a higher flow rate. Therefore, after using the FX4 for a couple of years, I decided to buy one of these FX6 again as a part of PetSmart's year-end Christmas or New Year deal. Got it for somewhere around $150. At the time, they had a Pet Perks app. It's a PetSmart app that had some kind of games in there for you to earn points. If you pass like all 3 different levels, you get a coupon that's like either 20 or 25% off, in addition to the discount that they were running as part of the Christmas or New Year deal. So that's why I was able to buy a couple of these FX6s again at around $150, $160 value. It's like a steal of a value. And lo and behold, the second time that I tried the FX6, I didn't have the motor noise problem for both of them. I mean, you've seen in my videos, I never had noise problem until, once in a blue moon, stuff gets trapped in the impeller, and I had to clean it up, open it up to clean it up. I think through this 4 or 5 years of usage of these FX6s, I've only done it twice. And the second time you saw on my recent video that I just put out. Other than that, it's been trouble-free. Oh, except for the fact that one of those times, I don't know if it's a FX from an FX6 or FX4, I had this dripping problem. That's the reason I'm making this video, is about the dripping problem. Sorry about rambling on, but anyways, that's the history of all the issues of these FX canister filters that I've ever had. There's no other complaints. This drain valve, some people have trouble with this drain valve leaking. I think the reason is because by design, they're not built too robust. I mean, I can move it with my finger and see this whole housing, this unit kind of move at this junction over here that's sealed up with its own internal o-ring. So it's not made too robust down there. So just with any canister filter, they're not built like a tank. So if you're being too rough with it, there's always a chance of these plastic cracking or something else going wrong with it. It's a good thing that it's a slow leak. I don't know how many drops per hour or per day that it's coming down. I mean, this video is when I've seen like 2 drops already. So needless to say, I gotta get this fixed sooner rather than later. Let me take it apart, and hopefully I need to fix it. Otherwise, to replace this valve, I could get one from Amazon for I don't know, something like 25 bucks. And I'll put the my Amazon associate link in the descriptions in case you run into a problem like this and you couldn't open up this housing like like I can. I'm not even sure if I can open it up. My finger strength is not that strong. I remember years ago, I actually struggled finding the correct tool to even press it out, because the O-ring that they used is pretty strong, so it takes quite a bit of force in order to press this out. Most people would not even go down that route in repairing it themselves. They would just spend the $25 to buy a new replacement valve. I'm sure that's part of their business strategy, because if they build something that lasts forever, then where's the new revenue coming from other than people purchasing brand new canister filters? So they have to, just like in any equipment company, they have to determine a group of components that's considered consumable parts. These valves are actually one of them. That's where they make their money when things like this go wrong. I mean, could they have designed it so that you would never run into this type of problem? I'm pretty sure with today's technology. But that's just how it is. That's how companies operate. Anyways, I'll stop the rambling and show you if I have any success fixing this problem. So stay tuned. All right, so I just shut off both of the intake and outtake valves off camera, and what I noticed was that this outtake valve is much easier to turn compared to the left side. So let me just show you when I open it. All right, you see how much effort I need to put in with my fingers to crank that open. Now compared to this other one, the intake valve. No, I'm pushing it very hard. You can see how much muscle strength I need to put into it. Oh my God. So this one is much tighter. I don't know if that's a normal thing, so it's a good thing I have a pair of these so I could test it out on my other FX6 filter that has been running problem free. Be interesting to see. All right, so both valves are in the open position. Let me just try and turn this outtake one off. Oh, this outtake one is really tight. When it's this tight, I'd be afraid to like use brute force because that might end up moving this plastic joint too much and cracking the plastic. All right, maybe somebody with giant hands would be able to turn this much quicker than me, but at this tightness, that's all I can do. Now let's change to this side. This is not a good angle for my right hand, so let me use my left hand, which is actually my weaker side. Huh. That is weird. So this FX6 is actually the opposite. The intake side is actually easier to turn. Whereas the other one, the intake side, was the harder side to turn. All right, so let me open up both sides again. Now, just for the sake of fairness, let me use my right hand for both. Okay, I rotated the whole FX6 a little bit, just so I could get to both of them with my right hand. All right, let's try the outtake side. That's fully open. And the intake side. Yeah. So for this FX6, the intake valve is actually looser. The good thing is I don't see any water puddles. Thank God. So there would be no reason for me to see any water puddles since I haven't opened this up since the last maintenance, and that's been for weeks. So anyways, the side is fine. My guess is that whichever side that's looser will end up being more likely to leak. Obviously, I would think that when it's tighter to turn, the pressure that the O-ring is giving you is higher because it's either still thicker, not being compressed to a point that's too loose yet. So that's my assumption. On this side, it's just the opposite. This outtake side is actually the tighter side. I mean the looser side. Let me just do it again. See, it's almost silky smooth. It's almost too smooth. Where's the intake side? Yeah, the intake side is just as tight as the outtake side of the other filter. So anyways, I got them both shut off so I can start draining the water. I'd have to actually disconnect it from the top so water don't end up coming in. This way I can actually remove this whole valve so I can service it. So what I did was I took this whole valve attached to the hose. I loosened up the clamps over there and I raised it in the air so that all the remaining water from inside the tube can roll down into the tank, so I don't have to worry about water coming out of the valve and when I go ahead and remove it. So upon inspecting this valve, you see there's a tab over there where my index finger is pointing to right there. What I'll try to do is use a flathead screwdriver to insert in, press it down in there with enough force so that this whole red inside unit can move through rightward, along with the handle will come out on the right hand side, so then I can work on the O-ring inside. Okay, I'll get to it off camera. So as you can see, I actually removed the plastic hose, so that's easy for me to get a handle on it. Went ahead and pulled out the red inners. Like I said, all I had to do was use a flathead screwdriver like this one here. I pressed in on this tab over here. I pressed it down toward the middle of the circle so it will no longer be stuck on the edge of this black covering. And then I just wiggle with my right hand, I wiggle this handle back and forth, and it just pulled out smoothly. And I inspected the O-ring to see if there's any sort of obstruction, any kind of sand particle that could possibly be on there that would restrict the 100% good seal. As you can see, for the most part, the O-ring looks pretty shiny. I mean, they're compressed, which is understandable. They've been on there for 4 or 5 years. These will be compressed. However, I do see that there's a piece of debris that right there where my index finger is. That's like a plastic piece of shred or something. Anyways, I'm gonna remove that. See, it just came off easily. Remove it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna remove the whole O-ring and rinse it under water and wipe it down. Actually, I do see a piece of coral, that white piece of coral in the middle there, but it's not on the O-ring, or it could be on the O-ring, but as I was pulling it out, it got rubbed off. I don't know. So I actually didn't remove the O-ring because I didn't want to stick something sharp and pointing in there and to risk damaging the O-ring. I think the first time I did this, years ago, I did remove the O-ring, but the way it is, it looks to me like it's a bit compressed. Like they should be sticking out furthermore from the red plastic in order to create a tight seal, but they're not. So chances are, over time, like I said, any sort of O-ring is considered a consumable item. They won't last forever. So I've applied some silicone-based grease to see if that'll, and I clean it up, of course, really good. We'll see if that stops the leak. If not, then eventually I have to replace this anyways. Stay tuned. All right, I just plugged it in again. And this valve, after I worked on it, it still feels pretty loose. you know, when I just turn it to shut it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up both valves. Alright, they're open up. The filter just stopped. It's doing its like purging for a few minutes. So let me come back. Okay, water just turned on after the purging. I rotated the orientation of the FX6 a little bit so you can hopefully able to see that on the bottom there's no trace of water. I've wiped it dry previously. And looking at this from the side, so far there's no water leak from down below. So I think that for now we're good. On this side it's dry also. This side was originally good, the intake side was originally good, so there's no concern there. I really just have to monitor this side for the next couple days. Come back to see if there's any traces of water by down here where it says out, and monitor and see, make sure that there's no water dripping down. So hopefully this will be a good fix for a while. If not, I'll be sure to report back. Maybe it was that piece of debris that's preventing a good 100% seal on it. The fact that this side is more loose, I don't know. My guess is that this output side, since the pump is directly below, pumping up the water up against gravity, this side, this whole outtake experiences more water pressure, whereas the intake side, water just drops down by gravity. I mean, obviously internally the water is still being pulled and then pumped up by the motor. Just that this side is against the gravity. Would that make this valve looser over time? Or let me know what you think. I mean, if that's the case, it would be safe to assume that both FX6s will be doing the same thing, that the right side would always be the loose side. However, on my other FX6 it's just the opposite, so I guess I just contradicted myself. But anyways, at least for today, that seems to be fixed. I hope you got something out of it, and I'll monitor it for the next couple days to make sure that things are running as they should. So far, this has been an episode of FX6 maintenance and repair. Thank you very much for watching. Happy fish keeping, happy African cichlid keeping. And I shall catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. I really appreciate it. Take care, guys. Let's see how I'm petting my fish. See, they'll let me pet them. Blueberry OB. I like this orange OB. I like that mutt ruby red. I like that one.